Big report in Politico this week. Now, do me a favor and try to contain your excitement. Please, please, please. Just try your best. But here we go. Bernie makes move, pointing to 2020 run. The Vermont senator is taking aggressive steps to address long-running political weaknesses like his lack of foreign policy bona fides. Is it bona fides? Bona fides? I don't know how to say that. And I think it's kind of a weird phrase. But anyway. The evidence suggests at the moment Bernie's going to run again. Hot diggity damn. So, look, it's exciting. I think it's exciting. I do worry about one thing, though. I worry that... Now, he's the most liked politician in America. Actually, by far and away. So, I mean, that's like... If anybody has the best chance to beat Trump, Bernie literally has the best chance. It's what all the numbers show. And it's not like with Hillary, where Hillary had like a 3-point lead, 4-point lead on Trump. Bernie has like a 16-point lead on Trump. And Hillary won the popular vote, and she won by like 3 percentage points, but she lost the Electoral College. Bernie would have won. Bernie would crush Trump. I don't doubt that for a second. But what I'm worried about is that there are some people out there, even if it's a tiny percentage, 3% of people maybe, who go, you know what, I'm not going to vote for him because I think he's too old. Now, look, you and I know, well, that's kind of bullshit. That's not really a good reason. But it's not about what you or me would say in response to that. It's about, is Bernie going to be able to hold 100% of the people who want to vote for him? And or would he lose like 3% of people who go, I like him, but I think he's a little too old. So I'm afraid of what some people might say about his age. His age isn't going to bother me. I would vote for his corpse over over Trump or any fucking corporate Democrat. But my point is there might be some people who view it as a problem. And that's upsetting to me because people have messaged me and told me if I could give Bernie 10 years off my own life, I would do it. I feel like probably the same thing because he is the exact thing that's needed at this point in history to kind of course correct. And we need FDR 2.0. And he is in a unique position to be able to do that. So, but that's my one concern. It's not me worried about his age. It's me worried about what some tiny percentage of people might think about his age. And then that might be enough to, sway it one way or the other. So, but putting that aside, I still think it's incredibly exciting to read this. It's the first article I've seen that really just kind of comes out and says it. And they give evidence. So they say, for example, he visited Iowa and he visited some swing states like Michigan a handful of times recently. And listen, you only really do that if you want to run for president. I mean, that's the fact. You don't just wake up one day and go, Iowa, let me go grab a fucking bacon, egg, and cheese in Iowa. No, you go to Iowa if you're fucking laying the groundwork for a presidential run. Duh. So for him going to Michigan and Iowa, and actually the part that shows how Bernie really is different than other politicians is that he's also been going to fucking West Virginia, and he's been going to deep red states because I think Bernie really believes in his message, and he believes that populist left ideas can win anywhere, so he's not afraid to go to deep red states because he thinks maybe I can win this state. So, yeah, that's, it's good. It's good. And he's met, but there is a downside to this, okay? The downside is the forces of evil are trying to get a hold of him too. So what do I mean by that? Well, he's met with Bill Perry, a defense secretary in the administration of Bill Clinton, Matt Duss, former president of the Foundation for Middle East Peace. He's working on foreign policy with that guy. He's working with another Obama foreign policy advisor. And, of course, as we all know, he's been trying to stay on good terms with the Democratic leadership and the DNC. Because here's here's Bernie's problem, and I do think this is a problem. I think Bernie is a little naive in that I don't think he gets it when we say to him, listen, dude, the establishment is just not that into you. The corporatists are just not that into you. You're never going to change the mind of corporate Democrats who are in leadership positions. You're never going to change their mind. Maybe they'll mildly tolerate you because you're a good, you're a good mascot to go rah, rah and get people into the Democratic Party. But they're never going to agree with you because they are representing their corporate donors. They're representing a neoliberal ideology, a center-right ideology, an ideology that is still beholden to Wall Street, still beholden to big business, still beholden to for-profit health insurance companies. So these are people who are better than the Republicans in that, hey, they're liberal on social issues. Okay, good for them. They'll throw you a bone every now and then on some economic issues too. But they are still going to be for deregulation. They are still going to be for cutting corporate taxes. So they hate you, Bernie. They literally stabbed you in the back. The DNC rigged the primary against you. And Bernie is naive in the sense that he believes, no, seriously, I know I'm right about this stuff, so let me talk to these people and maybe convince the DNC to be on my side. And maybe convince other establishment Democrats and corporate Democrats to be on my side. And that's why, Bernie Sanders, hey, have you noticed that Bernie Sanders has never come out and said, oh, by the way, I agree with Justice Democrats? Bernie Sanders, even if he does, let's be kind to him and say, even if he does kind of tepidly agree with us and agree with all the movements to get real progressives elected, he doesn't really talk about it that much now, does he? Why? Because Chuck Schumer gave Bernie Sanders a position in Democratic leadership. Now, granted, this was to placate him, to say, okay, just keep your fucking, your people in line behind us. But Bernie's largely delivering on that. They let Bernie into leadership so that Bernie doesn't outright say, we're done with corporate Democrats. We either need independents and third-party people or Justice Democrats, Bernie Sanders wing Democrats to take over. He doesn't outright call for a revolution against the Democratic Party, even though he's calling for political revolution, because he's allowed in leadership. So I think Bernie thinks, oh, it's okay, I'm going to convince Nancy Pelosi, I'm going to convince Chuck Schumer, I'm going to convince the Hillary wing, I'm going to convince Tom Perez, I'm going to convince the DNC that I'm right, and they'll all come to me in 2020 because they know I'm the best way to beat Trump. But Bernie, they're not going to do it. Tom Perez just put an axe in your back and Keith Ellison's back, because they fired basically every top Bernie Sanders official at the DNC and took them out of important leadership roles. They're not going to come around you because the structure of the system, the incentives in the system won't allow them to coalesce behind you, because they are too busy representing Wall Street, representing their corporate donors, representing big money. They're too busy being the Hillary Clinton neoliberals to say, hey, maybe we actually go populist left now and be like Bernie Sanders. So he's trying to get them to rally behind him so we definitely win in 2020, but they're never going to rally behind him, so he doesn't get the answer as a hostile takeover. He doesn't get that. He doesn't get that because he wants to play nice, and he thinks these people mean well enough that he can convince them to his worldview. But look, these are forces of darkness trying to pull Bernie Sanders in their direction. By the way, the so-called lack of foreign policy expertise that Bernie has, I think, is complete and utter bullshit. I mean, people made it seem like foreign policy was a big advantage for Hillary Clinton. Why? She voted for the war in Iraq. She supported war in Libya. She was for intervention in Syria. She never met a war she didn't like. But people go, oh, no, it doesn't matter. She was Secretary of State, so she has a big advantage on foreign policy. I don't give a fuck if you were Secretary of State. If you were demonstrably and provably wrong in every decision you made, then foreign policy is not a plus for you. It's a negative. It's like saying, oh, this person was the head of this person should be the next CEO of company X because they ran company Y. Okay, but what did they do at company Y? They bankrupted it. So then why would you put him as a CEO of Corporation X? That doesn't make any sense. But they go, no, but they had the leadership position, so that it counts. No, it doesn't if they failed in every imaginable way. And that's what they said about Bernie. Oh, Bernie, he doesn't know anything about foreign policy. He doesn't know anything about foreign policy. He was the only person I've ever seen in a U.S. presidential debate bring up the fact that we did a war. We overthrew, the CIA overthrew the democratically elected government in Iran because we wanted to jack their oil for the West. He's the only person who's ever brought that up. He's the only person who ever brought up what we did in South America. How we toppled all those governments and put in fascist puppets to do the bidding of our corporations. He brought this up in debates. He railed against the Iraq War, said it was a terrible idea. He said we should stop doing regime change wars. Non-expertise on foreign policy? Who the fuck are you kidding? The guy's been right on everything foreign policy-wise. You could argue, hey, he was too lenient on Obama's drones because Obama killed a lot of civilians with his drones and Bernie wasn't flat out against it, and he's weak on Israel-Palestine because he's not for BDS. Sure, there are little things. I agree with those criticisms, by the way, where you can nitpick Bernie and say he's not right on these things, but the people he's talking to are not going to get him off those positions. The people he's talking to are going to make him more hawkish. And they're going to say, well, the real serious people on foreign policy say we still need American power to run everything and we should continue the empire and we care about freedom and democracy. So, no, Bernie, stay away. Stay away. It should be every progressive's goal to keep as many progressives around Bernie as possible to keep him honest. Okay? I love Bernie. Bernie is dad. But you have to keep him honest. You have to surround him with people who are going to tell him, look, man, you're going in the wrong direction if you do this. You're going in the wrong direction if you do that. But now, I think he thinks in order to win, I got to be more serious on foreign policy. So let me bring in failed policy advisors to Obama. Why you want fucking Obama's foreign policy? He took 2 interventions and made them 7. He did drone strikes that killed 90% the wrong people. You want somebody... Look, if you say, I want somebody from Obama's administration who worked on the Iran deal and whose focus was not getting us involved in wars, cool. But if you're working with Bill Clinton advisors, Bill Clinton bombed a fucking, a pharmacy, like a medicine factory in Sudan. Led to the deaths of at least tens of thousands of people. Why would you want these people? So no, Bernie, you have to stay closer to the Democratic base and progressives and the populist left than you are to the establishment. And I think Bernie thinks the practical way to win is to get closer to the establishment. But I think he's wrong about that. So that's what's scary about this news. The good news is he's considering running again. The bad news is the forces of darkness are trying to push him in certain directions, which would actually hurt his chances of winning. So now look, Bernie might be smart enough to override all this. And to say, yeah, I got you. Wink and a nod to the populist left. I'll let the establishment people talk to me, and I'll say, oh, yeah, totally, I'm with you. But, he'd be fighting for the right things no matter what. That could be an option too, but I just hope, as an objective observer, he stays around people who really care about the issues, and not around the careerists in Washington who are basically the only group of people who can fuck up Bernie 2020.